So we will switch to English for the next roundtable, which is dedicated to strengthening cybersecurity competencies and enhancing capacities, international best practices. We have said this morning that Cyber 4.0 works also in this area of international cooperation with foreign countries on strengthening capacities, on capacity building. So it is my pleasure to call to the stage Mr. Nicolò Costantini, who is consigliere di legazione della Segreteria Generale dell'Unità per l'innovazione tecnologica e la sicurezza cibernetica at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, al Ministero per gli Affari Esteri e la Cooperazione Internazionale. Please. Sì, va bene, sì, okay. And then it is a pleasure to call Martina Castiglioni, Cybersecurity Program Officer of the European Cybersecurity Competence Center, ECCC. Thank you, Martina. It's a particular pleasure because she used to work for Cyber 4.0 until last year. And then let me call to the stage César Moliné Rodriguez, Director of the LAC4. LAC4 stands for Latin American and Caribbean Cybersecurity Competence Center. And last but not least, Caterina Morandini, Advisor for the Global Forum for Cyber Expertise, GFC. Very good. So we have a very complete representation of the discussion that is going on at the international level, because we have Ministry of Foreign Affairs from Italy, and then we have the European point of view, and then the application of these to another context, which is Latin America, and then the global oversight from the Global Forum for Cyber Expertise. So I would kick off just asking in the order that I called you on the stage. So first Mr. Costantini, and then Ms. Castiglioni, and then Mr. Moliné Rodriguez, and then Ms. Morandini, to share your take on international cyber capacity building in your domain of interest, in your area of work. What does this mean, and what is that you are doing in this respect? Please.
First of all, thank you very much for the invitation and for having me here today. And I'd like to convey to you all the most cordial greetings of Minister Giacomelli, who is the special envoy of the Minister of Foreign Affairs for Cybersecurity, who was unfortunately unable to join today's discussion as he's abroad on mission. Certainly, CCB has become crucial in the current geopolitical context due to all the shifts we are witnessing in the international arena and all the digital transformations that are taking place all around the world. As you know, Italy promotes an open, free, and secure cyberspace, which means that CCB is instrumental also in pursuing and achieving this goal through a multi-stakeholder and inclusive approach. Mr. Nicoletti, a few moments ago, explained to you about the national cybersecurity strategy and the implementation plan of the strategy. There are two specific measures dedicated to CCB. Measure 78, which is about the creation of a national ecosystem of public and private entities that are capable of carrying out CCB projects. And the other one is Measure 79, which is about international cooperation and the conclusion of bilateral agreements between Italy and other countries, also focused on CCB. CCB is very much relevant for us, for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. First of all, because we are willing to position Italy in a rapidly growing sector of a cross-cutting nature. Second, because we are willing to assist countries to mitigate the impact of cyber incidents. Third, our G7 presidency attaches a great deal of importance to cybersecurity in general and CCB in particular. And our areas of interest, geographic areas of interest, are mainly the African continent within the broader scope of the Mattei plan, the Balkans, the wide Mediterranean area, and Latin America as well. Another point that is important for us is that CCB provides us with an opportunity to strengthen our relations with other countries. It provides us with an opportunity to promote the quality of Italian companies that are working on cybersecurity. And last but not least, at the end of the day, CCB also helps ourselves to improve our own systems and procedures. When it comes to principles, first of all, we want CCB to be sustainable, oriented to the pursuance of the Sustainable Development Goals. We want it to be based on mutual trust, transparent, and to summarize, to use a few words, it has to be tailor-made and based on the actual interests of the countries where we are willing to work. Because we do not want to impose our own interests in other countries, but we have to work with them and help them. A few examples on what we do in terms of CCB. We assist countries to improve their own national ICT environment, collaborations with CERTs. We help them develop their own national strategies about cybersecurity. We also help them to develop an understanding on how international law applies to cyberspace, and we also help them to fight cybercrime. There are a lot of discussions going on at international level right now on CCB. For example, at the UN, there is the open-ended working group on the security of ICTs. At the OSCE, of course, at the European Union, and at many other international fora. What are we doing? Multilaterally, Italy, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, has been supporting the Multi-Donor Trust Fund of the World Bank and the International Committee of the Red Cross. Bilaterally, our National Agency for Cybersecurity has concluded 3 important MOUs with Tunisia, Romania, and Spain. So the work, as you can see, there is a lot of work going on. Something important is approaching. On the 2nd of July, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, together with the National Agency of Cybersecurity, are organizing a national conference to create a national ecosystem of public and private entities capable of carrying out CCB activities, which is, as you might recall, I mentioned it before, the implementation of Measure 78 of the implementation plan of our national cybersecurity strategy. So all the interested companies are invited to join this conference. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Costantini, and I just renew our willingness to be there and to participate in this, because we feel to be part of this ecosystem. Martina, please.
Thanks. I would like, first of all, to thank Cyber 4.0 for having me here today, representing the European Cybersecurity Competence Center. It's a pleasure to me to come back here in this important event. important, of course, for the Italian cybersecurity community, but also beyond the border of Italy, I would say. And this panel actually showcased this aspect of the event. And I would like to highlight the vision of the ACCC in cybersecurity capacity building, starting by quoting the conclusion on the future of cybersecurity. It's a document that has been published 2 weeks ago, more or less, by the Council of European Union. And in this document, the European Cybersecurity Competence Center is viewed as an inclusive and key forum for collaboration with industry, academy, and research organizations, and also collaboration with other relevant civil society associations, public entities, and other entities dealing with cybersecurity. And ECCC has a central role in coordinating the European Union cybersecurity investment strategy, boosting the European Union cybersecurity industry, and fostering skilled experts to enhance the cybersecurity resilience in Europe. So, of course, it's clear that in the mandate, in the mission of the European Cybersecurity Competence Center, we have the objective to increase the cybersecurity capacities of the European Union and the European Union leadership. But of course, we are living in the time of digital interdependencies, in the time of hybrid conflict and cyber warfare. So, of course, security priorities could be the same among and across nations and member states. Beyond the European Union. So, therefore, the activities in the cybersecurity capacity building area of the CCC can also help to build a safer and more secure environment worldwide. And I will mention a couple of really practical examples. I will start talking about our funding opportunities. As our director mentioned earlier, we are managing the cybersecurity clusters under Digital Europe program and Horizon Europe. Actually, we will take over the entire budget of cybersecurity cluster under the Pillar 2 of Horizon Europe by the end of the year. Horizon is more focused on research and innovation. Digital Europe program is more focused on capacity building to support and accelerate the digital transformation in the European Union. But I would like to mention that, for example, Horizon Europe, in particular, the pillar and about cybersecurity, is also open. It's open also to third countries. The so-called associated countries to Horizon Europe program. So we have a list of associated countries that is available on the website of Horizon Europe program. And among these countries, we have Ukraine, we have UK, we have Albania, Tunisia, Iceland. We have a list of more or less 20 countries. So, of course, if we take a look about the participants, the beneficiaries of our last call under Horizon. Last call closed at the end of last year and was mainly focused on privacy enhancing technology, security of robust AI system, and embedded cybersecurity. Among the participants, so the beneficiaries of this call, we have 22 countries, and we have also countries that are not member of the European Union. And if we take a look about the Digital Europe program topics, of course, one of the main topics of the last call closed at the beginning of this year, 06, cyber deploy call under DEP. One of the main topic is the Cyber Resilience Act compliance. So the beneficiaries will support small medium enterprises in particular in complying with the Cyber Resilience Act, and in a longer term can also increase the resilience of our overall cybersecurity economy. But I would like also to highlight that the approach of this funding opportunity, that is a multi-stakeholder approach and multidisciplinary approach. For example, among the beneficiaries of the DEP program 2021, 2022, and 2023, we have the majority, we have the 50% coming from the private sector, but we have the 25% coming from the academia, from the research sector, and also from public entities. So, of course, we are trying to develop, we are trying to enhance a multi-stakeholder approach, and that this will lead to a comprehensive approach to cybersecurity. That is actually what we need to tackle the cybersecurity complexity of the current cybersecurity threat. And also, among the beneficiaries of Digital Europe program, I'm glad to mention that the 40% are small medium enterprises, and for us it's a positive result if we think that our strategic agenda is mainly focused on enhancing the cybersecurity capacity of micro, small, and medium enterprises. Then, of course, this kind of approach, bringing together research and academia with the private sector, enable us also to bring together the best of the cutting-edge cybersecurity research with the private sector and public entities. And in this way, we are enhancing and we are creating more cybersecurity specialized skills, because we know that one of the biggest concerns all over the world is the cyber skills gap. The Eurobarometer that was published last week shows that the cyber skills gap is still increasing, that we need more cybersecurity professionals. And actually, there is another really alarming result, I would say, that is the fact that the 76% of the businesses in Europe didn't provide a cybersecurity training to employees or a cybersecurity awareness program. But even worse, I would say that the 60% of the participants of this survey highlights the fact they don't see the need to provide cybersecurity program, training program, or awareness program to their employees. So, of course, we are working also on this field, on closing the cyber skills gap. We are collaborating in this topic with NISA and with the European Commission. We have a dedicated working group, and together with the network of National Coordination Center as well, we have performed a study to evaluate the effectiveness of the past funding opportunities in this topic, regarding the cyber skills gap. And also we are collaborating, particularly with the NISA and the European Commission in the Cyber Skills Initiative. The Cyber Skills Initiative will be a unique platform, a unique point of entry of opportunities, financial opportunities, and cybersecurity training and cybersecurity awareness opportunities for Europe, but also it's available also for the other countries, third countries. The website is publicly available, so I will invite you to check it out. And also this initiative will bring together stakeholders from all over the world, in particular from Europe, but from all over the world, to also engage them in sharing training and cybersecurity training and awareness cybersecurity opportunities. So if I can summarize to close, of course, this contribution, I will say that the cybersecurity capacity building vision of ECCC, it's represented by funding opportunities, knowledge transfer, training and awareness opportunities, public-private partnership, because the majority of our consortia that we granted through our funds opportunities are public-private partnership, because this brings together the private and the public sector and academia sector as well. But also, last but not least, I would say that also another area in which we are acting is the incident response. Since, of course, considering the last text of the Cyber Solidarity Act, ECCC will be the granting authority that will manage the investment for the implementation, the development of the cyber hubs that represent the cyber shield. Cyber shield, it has its roots in the European cybersecurity strategy published back to 2020. But of course, now with the last text of the ECCC, we have a clear definition of the cybersecurity cyber apps that will be represented by a group of national SOCs and cross-border SOCs. And this actually will be the main action of European Cybersecurity Competence Center in the near future.
Thank you. Thank you very much. A whole lot of activities from the Cybersecurity Competence Center. Cesar, I was reflecting that you are the reason why this panel is in English, so make it worth.
Yes. Well, to be honest, well, first and foremost, I want to thank our host here, both Leonardo, Matteo, and Francesca, for allowing me to be here. And also, when I was drafting my talking points, I thought that I would do them in Italian. Then, when I heard myself out loud, I promised that I would not torture you by butchering your beautiful language. So apologies. I can do them in Spanish, but also it doesn't really work that well. So English it will have to be. So I'm really glad that I was able to talk after Mr. Constantini and Martina, because basically what they said sets the stage for what is happening in Latin America and the Caribbean, and how we are relating, or we're trying to create this capacity building bridge between the EU and the region as a whole. So just to give you an idea, I work with an organization that is the EU CyberNet project. We are an EU-funded project under FPI, which is a Foreign Policy Instrument Service. We are implemented, curiously enough, by the Systems Authority of Estonia, the National Cybersecurity Center. And the best part about it is we have our headquarters in beautiful Santo Domingo in Dominican Republic. So I don't know if it was because of the sun, the beach, the rum, or something like that this location was chosen, but actually it was more for cyber capacity building purposes. But you're all welcome to come and visit us. The beach is not that far. So after this intervention, please feel free to reach out and I will give you our address and you're welcome to come anytime. So what is the purpose of the EU CyberNet project? Basically, strengthening cyber capacity on a global level, EU-funded capacity building at a global level, with a specific target, which is Latin America and the Caribbean. And this is where LAC4 comes from. LAC4 stands for Latin American and Caribbean Cyber Competence Center. We're like the ECCC, but for Latin America, but also with a more, like I mentioned before, a more trying to create this nexus or this bridge between the EU expertise and what's being developed there in Latin America. So to give you this idea of how we are working, this is something that probably here my dear colleague Katarina will talk a lot about, given that she's from the GFC. But we've applied quite frequently the principles and the mandates that have been developed by the GFC, mostly coordinating and collaborating with all our international partners. And Latin America and the Caribbean is a very vast region, and this is one of the main challenges that we have. We have countries that are mere hundreds of kilometers big, that have, less than, 100,000 people in population. And we have other countries that are incredibly big in territory, in population, and in cyber readiness. So coming up with approaches for all of these different scenarios takes a lot of creativity, takes a lot of time, and takes a lot of coordination and collaboration. So how are we doing it at a regional level? We've tried to divide the region in what we call sub-regional hubs, which are basically countries or point of contacts in the different sub-regions. We have Dominican Republic for the Caribbean. We have Costa Rica for the Central American region. We have Ecuador for the Andean region. And last but not least, Uruguay for the Southern Cone. And, well, Brazil, because it's so big, it gets its own hub. So the way that these hubs act is basically as a contact point and also as a regional coordinator to not only identify the needs of their country and of their neighbors as well, in a way to try to target, as it was specifically mentioned before, tailored activities that could not only foster national coordination, but also international coordination. You would be surprised at the lack of knowledge there is when there is a high impact cybersecurity incident. Who do I call? And most countries, you'll be surprised, they don't even realize that, hey, maybe I could call my good neighbor in El Salvador. who may be able to give me some information about this incident. There is a very general lack of awareness. And what the center is trying to do is foster that collaboration through exercise, through activities, through different means of collaborating. One of our biggest activities is in November. You're all invited to, which is Cyber Week. It's a long week event full of interesting activities specifically targeted for the incident response and the CERT community. Now, to not go over time, because I think I still have a little bit more to discuss, there are one point that I do want to highlight that is specifically targeted to the private sector, which I know is very well represented here in this particular event. Right now, the LAC region is starting a lot of cooperation among governments, among international organizations. But one of the most important facts that we're trying to develop is collaboration with the private sector. So you will see more and more, and you will hear, we can discuss this more in depth in another scenario. But right now, the region is adopting a lot of EU developed standards. You've heard about here, Directive NIS 1 and 2 are being generally adopted as a standard for cybersecurity. We have EIDAS implementations for electronic signatures and digital ID. We have GDPR, which is making its rounds for data protection. So what I'm trying to say is that more and more the ground is being set for more European companies, for more Italian companies to be able to enter the Latin American market. And just to close, because I only have 1 minute left, right now the center is focusing on 3 main priorities that were mentioned by Mr. Constantini previously. One is cyber diplomacy. We need to foster to be able to get our Ministry of Foreign Affairs to talk amongst each other and to talk to other ministers of foreign affairs in order to be able to present joint positions in international dialogues. We need also the second, and obviously more important, which I think was mentioned very much indeed, national governance and strengthening national governance all around the region. And third, but not least, we need to protect our critical infrastructures. So, Matteo, I will leave it at that. And if there are any questions or comments, would love to discuss more later.
Thank you. And I had the pleasure to participate myself on behalf of Cyber 4.0 in some of these activities, especially cyber diplomacy, and I saw the effect that this has and how this is welcome. And I'm happy also to anticipate that we are about to sign an agreement with LAC4 to strengthen our cooperation even more, not just because they are in Santo Domingo, but because we believe that this will open a good channel for private sector, as you were saying, to have a direct access to Latin American market and vice versa. So what about instead the global overview on these issues and the Global Forum for Cyber Expertise, Caterina?
Thank you, Matteo. Good afternoon, everyone, and also thank you to Cyber 4.0 for inviting the Global Forum on Cyber Expertise, which I will call GFC going forward, to speak at this panel today. So to briefly set the scene and maybe introduce what the GFC is and does, as many in this room might not be familiar with the organization. We are based in The Hague, in the Netherlands, and we were established almost 10 years ago in 2015. So we are the platform for international cooperation on strengthening cyber capacity and expertise globally. We are a community-driven organization. Our community is formed by over 200 members and partners, which are multi-stakeholder, meaning that our community is formed by not only governments, but also civil society and academia organizations, the technical community, international organizations, but also private companies. And these organizations are established all over the world, which make us a global community as well. The focus of our work can be described as threefold. So firstly, we focus on promoting international coordination between CCB stakeholders. And this is done through example projects and initiatives that we facilitate both at the global level but also at the regional level. Secondly, we promote matchmaking between different stakeholders, and this is done, for example, through our clearinghouse mechanism, which tries to link needs and resources of different stakeholders. Last but not least, we also promote knowledge sharing of CCB activities between the stakeholders. This is done, for example, through the GFC working groups, which are platform established around the topics of the Delhi communique, and which create a space for stakeholders and our community to discuss topics of common concerns, but also share best practices between each other. All in all, this aims to strengthen cybersecurity capacity building internationally, but also cyber resilience for all stakeholders. To dive in more towards our approach to CCB within our strategy, starting from 3 years ago, we intended to move from a supply-driven approach to cybersecurity capacity building to a demand-driven approach, which really looks at the needs of the different stakeholders and what is in place to fulfill these needs. And this really puts the regions at the core of this new approach, and with the aim of strengthening cybersecurity capacity building globally. In practice, this lies behind the establishment of the GFC regional hubs. We currently have 4 different regional hubs in 4 different regions, which are the Latin America and Caribbean region, the Africa region, the Southeast Asia region, and the Pacific region. We also have some other dedicated activities in the Western Balkans region. And what is important to highlight about the GFC regional hubs is that the hubs work locally. So they are locally staffed and they really try to support an approach that it is tailored to the needs, but also the context and the resources that are available in the different regions. And this is really to try to ensure that the outcomes of the CCB activities is maintained locally, and also that local stakeholders become empowered. And this is done through, for example, connecting them to the GFC ecosystem, to our members and partners, but also to the CCB community at stake more in large. What is also important, besides the establishment of the regional hubs, the regional needs and the local needs, it's also the interregional transfer of knowledge and best practices. So what we also really try to focus on is not only understand what are the needs of the regions and how we can best support local stakeholders, it's also supporting the sharing of knowledge and best practices between the different hubs and the different stakeholders globally. And we really try to focus on the exchange among the hubs. Our regional hubs are constantly in contact, and in this space they can share the best practices and what stakeholders have done in the region that can be perhaps learned from in different regions.
Thank you. Thank you very much also for the effort to, let's say, coordinate a bit all the different initiatives, because we heard of the initiatives that are promoted mostly by the European Union, or anyway that have so-called like-minded countries behind, but there are also many more initiatives that are done at the global level. So it is essential to have some coordination and some basic knowledge sharing between these initiatives. One last question for the panel. The quicker, the better, because we are a bit over with time. It is, okay, this is the situation now. So a lot of initiatives and regions that are starting to talk to each other on these topics, and also global level, also in the UN treaties, for example, the one that is being negotiated on cybercrime, there is a specific chapter on capacity building and on the commitment by countries to do this. So there is a sort of increase of interest in this area, because this has been shown that could be also an instrument to create a cooperation on a political level. So what are the challenges that you see in the short, medium period for this cyber capacity building, Mr. Costantini? And I would not take the floor again, so just pass the mic to one another, and this is the last question.
Sure. Thank you. Well, so the world is going through a lot of uncertainty right now, isn't it? Due to the ongoing Russian invasion of Ukraine and the conflicts in the Middle East. So the cyber domain is also facing hybrid threats. So that's one of the first challenges that I see. A second point is about the very increasing number of malicious cyber activities that we are witnessing. And that puts forward a point of trust in the cyberspace, which is essential to carry out CCB. And CCB also has to work on that to create trust within countries and with countries, among countries. And a third challenge that I see is about artificial intelligence. Because we all know that AI is a great opportunity, can help to strengthen the defenses against cyber threats, but at the same time, it can be also used to carry out malicious cyber activities. So we think that CCB is essential also from this point of view. And with these regards, I would like to highlight the UN General Assembly resolution that was adopted last March upon US proposal about the AI for sustainable development, which gives the idea of how much the international community is committed to helping countries from the so-called global south, or developing countries and emerging countries, and at the same time also the ongoing negotiations for the Global Digital Compact at UN level, which is also about AI and the cyber domain. That was very briefly.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Martina.
Yes. Okay. From European cybersecurity competence side, I would say that, as mentioned by the director before, we are working on the new work program of Digital Europe, and of course, the main challenge for us is develop a program able to cope with the rapid changes in the cyber threat landscape. Also, because the geopolitical dimension nowadays is, let's say, blurring the boundaries between the civil and the military spheres, no? So we have to be able to, in order to strengthen a joint resilience, cyber resilience defense mechanism, of course, we need to find new ways or enhance a new mechanism to support the collaboration between the civilian and the military spheres. Then, of course, as I mentioned before, in the near future, in particular at the beginning of July, ECC will publish under Digital Europe program, which publish specific calls for the development of the cyber apps. And of course, here a challenge will be also to leverage on key digital technologies such as artificial intelligence. So also the capacities from our private public bodies, but also from research and academia sector to develop, to enhance AI mechanism or big data analysis to develop new way to detect, react to large-scale incidents, for example, but also to enable cyber threat intelligence that will be actionable, that will be effective, and that will enable also the collaboration between national SOCs, cross-border SOCs, but also collaboration with other actors, such as the network of Computer Security Incident Response Team, ENISA, the European Union Computer Emergency Response Teams, and the other actors that already exist and already work on cyber defense and all over Europe.
Thank you.
Very, very briefly from my side, I would say number one, I guess, challenge would be maintaining the human-centered aspect of cyberspace and new technologies. At least the AI has been mentioned several times in interventions previous to this, or at least what I understood was AI. And we're seeing that it's not just technology for the sake of technology, but we want to be able to maintain that this is technology for our development, for trying to solve our core problems as a country, as a region, etc., etc. So that's one. Second, obviously, it pertains to international collaboration. A lot of what we're seeing in the ecosystem, the GFC has been for years trying to better international cooperation when it comes to cyber capacity building, when it tries to organize the whole ecosystem. But there's still much to be done. And this can only be done, by national actors, talking amongst themselves, also talking with our international partners and trying to avoid the duplication of efforts, avoid, misspending resources that could be used for the betterment of other organizations, other countries, and forth and so on. And last is the most, at least for me, the most impactful one is local ownership and also collaboration with private sector. And I see it on two fronts. Number one, local ownership, it's not, when you have capacity building projects, it sounds really nice, like you're sending an expert, to Santo Domingo or to somewhere foreign to do a mission. It's not a parachuting expert that comes, does cyber capacity building, and that's it, it's done, it's magically done. No, it takes a lot of effort to get there. And this can only be done when the national authorities do manage to comprehend that big challenge. And as I mentioned before, public-private partnership is essential. If we don't get the private sector on board, then none of this is going through. So I will leave it at that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Caterina.
Thank you. So as Cesar was mentioning, we also see duplication of efforts as a challenge to be tackled, and this is something that the GFC has always tried to work on by, as I was mentioning earlier, the sharing of best practices and knowledge between the different regions and within the different regions to strengthen cybersecurity capacity building globally. To keep it brief, another challenge that we see is unlocking resources for CCB activities. And this is something that the GFC tries to do through mechanisms like the Global Conference on Cybersecurity Capacity Building, the GC3B, that we held for the first time last year in November in Ghana. And also through processes like the Accra Call for Cyber Resilience Development, which is the main outcome document of the conference. And these processes really try to connect the interplay between the CCB and the digital development communities, and really try to enhance the impact of CCB within the global digital development agenda. I invite you all to have a look at the gc3b.org website. We have the next edition of the conference next year on 14th and 15th May in Switzerland, in Geneva. So you can find more information there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you to all the panelists.